Welcome to A Moment in Time with Nex. Today I'm going to be doing a review on this book, The Art of Happiness, A Handbook for Living by His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Howard C. Cutler. You can tell how much I loved this book. It's all beat up already, and I've only had it for a little while, but I read it a lot, brought it to the beach, and when I read I like to do the sin of reading books and folding it back like that. So anyway, I loved this book, not only because it has practical information that I could use in my life, which is always what I look for in a book, and not just for me, but for every single human being on this earth. There's practical information inside this book. But not only that, it actually got me pretty interested in Buddhism, which is not at all the intention or goal of the book, but just by proxy, I started to become interested. I'm used to be a Christian, so I still kind of long for a spiritual community, and I feel like that might kind of scratch that itch for me. So stay tuned, because I would like to start exploring various temples and incorporating some of their rituals, practices, and meditations. I'm hoping to start recording content like that more on the Aura app again and getting back into that. So I'll make sure to include my referral link to that app in the bio. But in the meantime, let's get into this review of The Art of Happiness by the Dalai Lama and Howard Cutler. The book is broken down into 5 parts, and part 1 is called The Purpose of Life. And interestingly enough, what he says the purpose of life is to be happy, is to pursue and move towards happiness. And he spends a lot of time talking about what happiness really is and what defines it. But what I found really interesting is his belief about fundamental human nature. So I'm going to share just a paragraph or two from the book directly so I don't misquote or overly summarize this, because I think it's pretty powerful words here. We are made to seek happiness, and it is clear that feelings of love, affection, closeness, and compassion bring happiness. I believe that every one of us has the basis to be happy, to access the warm and compassionate states of mind that bring happiness. In fact, it is one of my fundamental beliefs that not only do we inherently possess the potential for compassion, but I believe that the basic or underlying nature of human beings is gentleness. Of course, we cannot ignore the fact that conflicts and tensions do exist, not only within an individual mind, but also within the family, when we interact with other people, and at the societal, national, and global levels. So, looking at this, some people conclude that human nature is basically aggressive. They may point to human history, suggesting that compared to other mammals, human behavior is much more aggressive. Or they may claim, yes, compassion is a part of our mind, but anger is also a part of our mind. They are equally a part of our nature. Both are more or less at the same level. Nonetheless, he said firmly, leaning forward in his chair, straining with alertness, it is still my firm conviction that human nature is essentially compassionate and gentle. That is the predominant feature of human nature. Anger, violence, and aggression may certainly arise, but I think it's on a secondary or more superficial level. In a sense, they arise when we are frustrated in our efforts to achieve love and affection. They are not part of our most basic underlying nature. Part 2 is about human warmth and compassion. The Dalai Lama says, compassion can be roughly defined in terms of a state of mind that is non-violent, non-harming, and non-aggressive. It is a mental attitude based on the wish for others to be free of their suffering and is associated with a sense of commitment, responsibility, and respect towards the other. I really liked this section because meditating on tolerance and patience were new concepts to me, and I've been meditating for 15 years. So I really liked learning some new meditations. I've done ones on compassion before, but never as extremely powerful as these ones. I mean, I was actually weeping and moved to tears multiple times practicing these meditations, and I'm excited to share them with you here right now. So let us meditate on compassion today. Begin by visualizing a person who is acutely suffering, someone who is in pain or in a very unfortunate situation. For the first 3 minutes of the meditation, reflect on that individual's suffering in a more analytic way. Think about their intense suffering and the unfortunate state of that person's existence. After thinking about their suffering for a few minutes, next, try to relate that to yourself, thinking that individual has the same capacity for experiencing pain, joy, sorrow, happiness, and suffering that I do. Then try to allow your natural response to arise, a natural feeling of compassion toward that person. Try to arrive at a conclusion, thinking how strongly you wish for that person to be free from that suffering, and resolve that you will help that person to be relieved from their suffering. Finally, place your mind single-pointedly on that kind of conclusion or resolution, and for the last few minutes of the meditation, try to simply generate your mind in a compassionate or loving state. Part 3 is about transforming suffering, and they talk about a book called Pain, the Gift That Nobody Wants by Dr. Paul Brand, which I found really interesting. I actually put it on my list to read because he talks about how pain is a really important feedback system for our bodies to let us know something's wrong. So if we hurt ourselves, the pain lets us know that we've hurt ourselves so that we can move away from the thing hurting us or tend to our wound or whatever is happening, whether we need to rest it or go to the hospital or, whatever variety of pain we could experience, including mental pain, psychological pain. It's an important source of feedback so we know when something's not quite right. And Paul Brand talks about in his book, people with leprosy, and in studying pain and going to different villages where leprosy is still running rampant, he found that people who couldn't feel pain because they couldn't feel anything, numbness, lack of pain, lack of sensation, led to really horrible accidents because people couldn't feel what was happening to them. So he just a trigger warning, this is pretty gross. If you want to skip ahead 15 seconds, I don't blame you. He gives an example of a time that a rat was like gnawing away on somebody's toes and the person was just sleeping peacefully through it because they had no idea it was happening because they couldn't feel it. So if we think in these kinds of terms, pain is better than numbness. Pain is better than not being able to feel when something horrible is happening to you. So I thought that was kind of a different way of thinking about it, and it can kind of shift the way we view pain to not necessarily welcome it, but to be grateful towards it and to kind of respect its role in our human existence. And then he goes into a practice. This one also made me weep, just like the last one. It's called Tonglen. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing that right. And it's this practice of transmuting suffering and transferring suffering and happiness between two people. Now, he does give a warning on this practice that it's not for everyone. Only do things that feel good to you and resonate with you and that you want to participate in. This one is pretty heavy and it can definitely be hard. If you're in a kind of a weak state of mind, maybe save this for a time where you're feeling a lot stronger and ready to take on a more challenging practice, because it really can get you into your emotional body. And so for some of you, that might be not where you're trying to go, and that's totally fine. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do at any time. But if you'd like to participate in this practice, I'm going to share it with you now. To begin this exercise, first visualize on one side of you a group of people who are in desperate need of help, those who are in an unfortunate state of suffering, those living under conditions of poverty, hardship, and pain. Visualize this group of people on one side of you clearly in your mind. Then on the other side, visualize yourself as the embodiment of a self-centered person with a customary selfish attitude, indifferent to the well-being and needs of others. And then in between this suffering group of people and this selfish representation of you, see yourself in the middle as a neutral observer. Next, notice which side you are naturally inclined towards. Are you more inclined towards that single individual, the embodiment of selfishness? Or do your natural feelings of empathy reach out to the group of weaker people who are in need? If you look objectively, you can see that the well-being of a group or large number of individuals is more important than that of one single individual. After that, focus your attention on the needy and desperate people. Direct all your positive energy to them. Mentally give them your successes, your resources, your collection of virtues. And after you've done that, visualize taking upon yourself their suffering, their problems, and all their negativities. Again, be really careful with this practice. Do it at your own pace. Stop if you start to feel overwhelmed. And you may start to notice a shift not only in your mindset and in your heart in terms of compassion, but this may lead to a lifestyle and whole life kind of change. If you realize that your life is pretty selfish and you're not really doing anything to help other people, as you start to practice this, you might actually start to find yourself being more generous, more compassionate, and maybe changing up your whole life to be more of service to others in this world. And I'd say that's a pretty positive change if you ask me. Part 4 is called Overcoming Obstacles. He talks about how to create change in your life. Check out my podcast, Next Talks, episode 23. It's about change. And I do think I referenced some of the stuff from this book in that episode as well. They also talk about ways to help you overcome hatred, anger, anxiety, and ways to increase and raise your self-esteem. So if that sounds good to you, definitely make sure you check out section 4. And then section 5 is just called like living a spiritual life. I don't think there's a lot we need to go into there. I think it's very subjective, your spiritual practices, if you have any. So however that feels to you, like if you feel like it's spiritual to just be loving and connected to people, I'm good with that. If you want to do your like very ritualistic, Catholic tradition or something, I'm cool with that too. Like whatever feels right to you, listen to yourself, do what you know is best for yourself and for the people in this world. And I hope that you have a great rest of your day. That's everything for this book, The Art of Happiness. Stay tuned for another book review coming soon on Johann Hari's book, Stolen Focus: Why You Can't Focus and How to Think Deeply Again. So make sure that you subscribe if you haven't already. Feel free to check out all my other book reviews and my podcast. Like I said, I am still trying to monetize this channel, so the more time you spend, even if you're just listening to it in the background, the more that helps me out. So thank you so much. Please share this out if you think anyone else can benefit from it. And until the next one, I love you. You are worthy of being loved and feeling comfortable in your own skin. This has been A Moment in Time with Nex. Exprime diem, squeeze the day. Bye-bye.